It was a busy day for the UN Security Council as it met publicly and privately to discuss ongoing conflicts around the world. Council members have condemned the continued violence across Sudan, stressing the need for an immediate cessation of hostilities. Secretary-General Antonio Guterres saying the conflict there has resulted in a catastrophic humanitarian crisis that has had a destabilizing effect on the region. Since April last year, Sudan has been in the midst of a deadly war, torn between the government's Sudanese armed forces and the rival paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Forces, or the RSF. The conflict has displaced more than 10 million people, creating one of the worst global humanitarian crises.
Sudan is once again rapidly becoming a nightmare of mass ethnic violence, in particular with the dramatic escalation of fighting in Al-Fasher. We have consistently appealed to both sides to end the fighting and come to the negotiating table. But instead of lowering tensions, they are escalating military action.
Meanwhile, an emergency session of the Council was also convened following the airstrikes that Israel launched against Iran. Tehran, supported by Algeria, China and Russia, requested the urgent meeting. The airstrikes marked the latest escalation in the ongoing crisis in the Middle East. Iran has condemned the attack as a blatant violation of international law and has vowed to retaliate, while Israel insists that it has a right to defend itself if Iran continues its attacks against it and its civilians. The rising tensions a concern for a divided UN Security Council.
Any reckless provocation or military adventure to expand the fighting is irresponsible and is highly likely to lead to miscalculation and disastrous consequences. It must be pointed out that the fundamental reason for the continued worsening of tensions in the Middle East is that the ceasefire in Gaza has remained elusive. The fact that a number of Council resolutions calling for a ceasefire have been shelved undermines the Council's own authority and is not conducive to a fundamental solution to the conflict.
But as the hostilities continue to simmer in the Middle East with no end in sight, the United Nations is once again calling for de-escalation. It says the Council needs to shoulder its responsibility and demand an end to the fighting and must act to restore international peace and security. Jody Jacobs, CGTN, New York.